News you can use.
Welcome to another edition of The Scoop, where we're providing news that we certainly hope you can use. I'm Louise Thompson, the Executive Director of Tampa Bay Community Network, tbcn.org on your internet web browser. And with me today is Rhonda Rhodes, who is the Director of Programs for Alpha House in Hillsborough County. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thanks for inviting me.
Rhonda, tell us about Alpha House, what it is and what its mission is.
Okay. Alpha House of Tampa is an organization that was founded in 1982, and our mission is to provide safe housing and ancillary services for pregnant and parenting women who find themselves homeless. As I say, we provide safe housing, we provide counseling, case management, parent education, and links to the various community resources that they need to work on self-sufficiency, getting themselves back in the community and being productive citizens.
These folks are homeless. You're saying, how does that come to happen to them? Is there more than one reason? That they
Yes,
become...
some come to us from the streets because of economic problems or problems with boyfriends or husbands or family issues. A lot of them come through what we call love evictions. Due to lack of income, lack of education, they are living with friends, relatives, going from place to place and having no stable place to live. And so finally the friend or the family member says, no, you can't live with me anymore. And so they find themselves without a place to stay and no stability in their lives. So they pick up the phone or they come in and seek services from us.
How does anybody find out about it? Or is there, well, like Hillsborough County, for example, if they called Hillsborough County and said, help me, I don't know what to do, I'm pregnant and homeless, would they?
Yes, they would. 211 is one of our...
Oh, 211, yes. Which has not been advertised very well at all.
Yeah, 211, word of mouth, and a lot of other community providers, because we're one of the few places that provides those type of services for pregnant, homeless women. So.
And you're specific to that, just pregnant.
Pregnant and newly parenting.
Okay, so once they have the child, do they still have housing with
Yes,
Alpha
we
House?
have 16 units in our transitional housing program.
Transitional meaning they already had the baby.
Right.
Okay.
And we have a maternity home which provides 23 beds and then the 16-bed transitional housing program. 98% of the ladies who come into our transitional housing come from our maternity program, but we do take community referrals. And they come in through an intake process and they're interviewed for the appropriateness, because not only do they have to be homeless and pregnant or newly parenting, they have to be able to fit into a community.
What does that mean exactly? You mean if they were drug addicts or something?
Well, if because again, there are 39 women and 26 to 27 babies, and so we make sure.
Oh, that's a lot of babies.
That's a lot of babies.
That's a lot of babies in one place.
In one place, and so we have to make sure that we're providing the safety and security. So we take a look at, and they're usually interviewed by our clinicians who take a look and make sure that they're appropriate to come into a community living program.
So that they can get along.
Exactly.
And not be a problem. So what kind of services, so it's residential only, or do you provide other kinds of services besides that?
We provide ancillary social services. We provide counseling. We have 2 master's level clinicians who are skilled in substance abuse and mental health, as well as other family types of issues. We have case managers who provide the linkages, not only referrals, but linkages to the community resources that they need to get an education, for education, job placement, vocational,
or something, go back to school,
exactly.
Maybe go to community college or something.
Exactly, and we provide those case management services. We have parent educators who work intensively with them and their children to make sure that the children are prospering and getting ready for, they're school ready.
Do you help them get jobs actually? Is there some vocational or how do you?
No, we don't. We don't actually have a job coach. I have, however, probably some of the best case managers in the county who
So they'll
have,
refer them to places
yeah,
that can tell them how to do a resume, where
right.
to go, maybe
And
where this.
we provide those classes, but we not only do we provide referrals, we provide the linkages. So that, it's not just giving them a piece of paper and saying, go out. We will help them link to those services.
What's the age range of the women that would be homeless and come into your program?
Our average age is about 20. Our youngest that has come into our program has been 12, and the oldest has
Kicked
been
out of their house
44.
at 12?
We have 40% of our ladies are from the foster care system. They're adolescents from the foster care system. So,
I'm
and
sorry,
they're
I interrupt you. The ages go from 12
12
to,
to our oldest, I think, has been 45. So it's any woman of childbearing age.
how does a 45-year-old end up in a program like this?
Domestic violence, loss of job income, substance abuse, just, basically just being overwhelmed with life and not being able to maintain.
Do people, can people come into the program who have other children and are pregnant or not?
Yes, they can come into our transitional program.
So but they could be pregnant and have other
Right.
children. And so you're housing those children.
Yes.
What's the demand like in Hillsborough County for these services?
Well, increasing as our economic times get worse and worse. Last year, we served 119 women. We turned away 50 to 60 women because of the fact that we had no
What
room in the
happens
end.
to them?
We try to, as much as possible, provide referrals and linkages to other agencies. But I will tell you that most of the time, those women are left to their own devices.
What happens with hospitalization, the actual birth of a child? Do you bring them over to, are you affiliated with some of the hospitals there?
Yeah, all of our part of the linkages that we provide are to community physicians and obstetricians, gynecologists, and then the woman chooses where she wants to give birth. And so we utilize St. Joseph's, Tampa General. We've gone as far as South Florida Baptist, where they are provided labor and delivery classes and then delivery. And then after that, they can come back.
I want to learn more about this, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be back. Welcome back to The Scoop, providing some news that you can use. I'm Louise Thompson from Tampa Bay Community Network, and with me is Rhonda Rhodes, who's the Director of Programs at Alpha House, which is providing transitional and other housing for women who find themselves pregnant and homeless. Can you tell me, your organization just handles people who are already in Hillsborough County, correct?
Yes, primarily. We do have ladies who come from out of state because they find themselves homeless once they get to Florida. I mean, we've had ladies, who come to Florida for jobs and, a better life, and get here and find out that economically the pot of rainbow is not there, and so, or they've come down with a friend, and then they find themselves homeless.
Are these programs also available in other counties, state of Florida?
There are, yes, there are. There are not as many maternity homes as there are, but transitional programs, yes.
Not specific to handling this pregnancy
Right.
and whatever.
Right.
But they'll handle women who are
Yes.
homeless?
Yes.
And finding out about those, how would they do that? Call their own county
They could call their
resource line?
and 211 is a valuable resource. It's all over the state, and so that's a very, very valuable resource.
So, okay, so they find themselves in Hillsborough County, they're pregnant, mostly young.
Yes.
When you said average age 20, you're counting that 45-year-old in there and the 12-year-old. So they're mostly pretty young.
Yes.
Have they been well parented themselves, or?
No, they have not. What we see is a legacy or generations of lack of parenting, lack of provision of self-esteem, lack of education, and you have people having children younger and younger. So
With all this knowledge out there and sex education and so forth, it's just,
it is mind-boggling because you wonder, and you're absolutely right. But if you talk with them, as we do, we spend a lot of time providing education from our own staff and also bringing people in, having focus groups, etc. And sometimes it's just like talking in the dark ages because they have all that information. But again,
they don't think it's going to happen to them or
exactly,
something like
exactly.
this?
Well, they're young and they're omnipotent. It happens to Susie. It doesn't happen to me. Or I find a gentleman who tells me that he loves me, and he's going to take care of me. And so it's that age-old, fairy tale Prince Charming type of thing. And then Prince Charming rides off on the horse and doesn't ever come back. Yeah, so it's just a generational.
So in addition to getting them ready to have a child, these very young children themselves, does your program provide for some reparenting of them?
Yes, we do. We have a exciting program that we started about a year ago. It's called Trauma Response Empowerment Model. It's 28 to 36 weeks of group therapy facilitated by two of our master's level clinicians that work on the underlying issues that may lead to not only their homelessness, but their lack of appreciation of themselves. And we have found that this program has been remarkable. I mean, we've seen people actually physically transform.
I'm thinking that you would have, if you had children who weren't parented in the first place don't understand parenting in there, their likelihood of abusing their own children, they could have come from abuse, correct?
They could have, yes.
Yeah, or domestic violence,
Exactly.
which sometimes gets passed down. And so you're trying to intervene before such a thing would happen.
Exactly.
Again, is that what you're doing?
Exactly.
You're trying to cut that off?
Exactly. Break into the cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so only people that are in your program that are residential already would go into this 26?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's too bad you can't make that available to other people who might need it,
It would
as
be-
well, because
yeah.
certainly you're limited with the number of housing you have.
Yeah, and we're just getting our feet wet in the program. It's a national program. It's research-based. It's out of Washington. A group of clinicians developed it, and it's been utilized in everything from maternity homes to jails to, with men, women, and adolescents.
Rhonda, tell me if you're a social worker yourself.
Yes, I am.
Right? The statistics on the demographics of the people that come into your program, you gave us the age range, 12, 45, but the youngest, the oldest, the average age, 20.
Yeah, about 20.
And a lot uneducated.
Very
But
much so.
is there a prevalence of minorities, Hispanics, or is it split down the road?
It's almost easily. I think last year we were split between Caucasian and African Americans, about 42 to 45% in those two categories, with Spanish people being about 12%.
Which is about what the numbers are in Hillsborough
Exactly.
County.
Exactly.
Well, the minority number, though, would be double in your program than it would be what we have in the county,
Exactly.
right? African Americans, so forth, right?
Yeah,
But
so we're
that's-
finding that homelessness and this type has no, it does by color, skin, or whatever the circumstances. These women are finding themselves in the same circumstances.
Are you preparing for this with our economy being the way it is? You said a lot of times these people come down here looking for a job, find themselves homeless, and then they have to come for your services. When we're in a market like we are now, with there being so less jobs, and what are we hitting 8-9%?
Yes, we are.
Unemployment rate. Is this going to sort of swamp your program?
It
Is
has
gonna
already
have-
started. I mean, I have been spending at least one day a week going down and just sitting with our receptionist to see who's calling and what their needs are. And we have women calling and saying, it's 6 o'clock, it's dark, I'm pregnant, I have another child, and I have no place to go. And so we're getting more and more of
What
those
happens
stories.
then? Do you have volunteers that run out and pick them up or take them someplace, or can
Now,
they go to a regular domestic violence place if you don't have the
they
facility?
can if they meet that criteria, but the resources in Hillsborough County are limited. They're limited.
Well, if you had to turn away half as many as you took in, that's a lot. And then if the situation continues the
Right.
way it is,
And then a lot of
this is really something that we ought to be looking at, whether we need to plan for and what you're doing in the community. But we are going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned, please. Thank you. Back to the Scoop, news you can use. We're talking today with the representative from Alpha House. I'm Louise Thompson from Tampa Bay Community Network. Rhonda Rhodes, the social worker and the director of programs for Alpha House, is telling us about the problem that's going to be on the horizon even.
It is on the
greater horizon with women who find themselves homeless, pregnant, and no place to go and whatever to do. So in addition to the fact that we're seeing this rise in unemployment, and maybe that will create another rise in this situation for women who are homeless and pregnant, but also when the economy is this bad, don't we see a rise in domestic violence?
Oh, definitely.
So they could be like running out of the house already employed, but do you get people who are, well, they can't hardly get a job if you're unemployed, if you're homeless, right?
Well, no, there are places that will hire them. What we find, though, is that one of the problems is that the jobs that they're able to get don't pay them a livable wage. So we had one young lady, and I mean, she was very, very eager to work, but she never made enough money to be able to sustain a household. And that's how she came to us. And so, and if you have a child and you're paying $150 a week for childcare, you can't flip enough burgers at Checkers or someplace else to be able to maintain yourself and a child.
That's true.
You know, so
I did a show once on that livable wage
Yeah.
thing, and at the time, which might be 2 years ago, you needed to have $12 an hour.
exactly. And so that's one of the
To
things.
just afford a basic apartment, nothing,
Exactly.
like nothing, hardly.
Exactly.
Thrift store furniture and whatever. And there was a push for the living wage, but I haven't heard more about that recently.
There's talk.
Okay.
But again, you need education. And so we're moving, I mean, we spend a lot of time motivating and talking to our ladies and linking them with HCC, with Irwin, with Brewster, with Gary Adult, for our foster care kids going to high
You're
school.
talking about vocational training
Right.
of some sort.
Exactly. So
And for people who don't know the names of those schools. But
Exactly.
And our community college.
you know, because I mean, you've got to be able to do something besides fast food.
Are they able to access educational funding money or that kind of thing as well?
Yes, ACC has a wonderful financial aid program as well as the technical schools.
Oh, they do too?
Yes, they do.
And so that money's coming through the state or federal government or?
I think it's a combination. I think for every dollar you draw down from, you're able to match for the state you pull a federal dollar down.
See on the horizon probably the next few years of an increase in the need for this? Is there some, how do you get funded? Who takes care of this problem in our community?
We have a variety of funding. We've enjoyed a great deal of community support. The Department of HUD provides monies for support services as well as for our operations of our Rosalie Center. We receive monies from the Board of County Commissioners, the City of Tampa, United Way. And again, we have a lot of fundraising support, and we also we tapped into the foundations such as the Kahn Foundation, and so with all of those pots of money, we're able to operate.
How many employees are there?
At this point in time, there are 31.
31 serving
119 last year.
Plus the babies.
Plus the babies, yes.
And how many babies did you have in the program last year?
74.
When
Babies and young children. So.
Besides the 119 adults.
Right.
I know with the domestic violence centers, there's always this like threat of maybe somebody's going to come looking for you, the women who have been abused.
But we have a great relationship with the Tampa Police Department. They're very conscious and very vigilant. And again, we are a village, and so when there are people who are there who should not be there, you know, the reports go out very quickly.
I'm always wondering about where our traditional, old-fashioned churches are in this situation where they used to take care of people. You spoke of village, but they were usually the center of the village for taking care of people who were homeless because of a fire or these kinds of situations that you're in here. There's no support coming from churches anymore, so it's relying on these kinds of things, is it not?
There are some, there is support from the churches. You know, I think that the numbers and the types are just becoming overwhelming to all of us, and there's a need for better pulling together, integration, talking to each other about what we are doing, so that we're not stepping on each other in terms of getting the services out. So there is a community-wide effort, but I think that fragmentation sometimes gets in the way and inhibits being able to do more.
How does Florida rank in the mix of the need for help with teenage pregnancy or other pregnancy? Are we up there or not really so bad?
We're not really so bad, you know, especially when you think about places like Mississippi, Alabama, some of the deep South states. But we do have our problems because, again, we have an influx of people who continue to come, you know. And I don't know what it is about Hillsborough County, but it's like a lot of people get, you know, they get down and they, you know.
They like us. We're a tourist attraction.
You know, and so they just continue
Rhonda, what's the website for people to find the Alpha House?
It's www.alphahouseoftampa.
ALPHA.
Yeah.
HOUSE.
.org.
.org.
Yes.
And they can find some linkage for the services that
Yes,
you
they
provide
can.
in case
Yes.
they have some friends that are in need. And of course, you're listed in the phone book.
Yes, we are.
And what's that number?
It's 813-875-2024.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
For getting people to know what you're doing out there and the problem. And I guess we're going to see this rise in times, in these coming times, and we're going to have to do something about it if we are a village. Thank you for tuning in. Please go to our website, tbcn.org, and learn about how you too can make programming that you can put on TV as well. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.
News you can use.